organization in the chat.
Hi, Ronson.
Hey, Rita. Yeah, we're just putting our names and title organization in the chat. Yeah. Okay. So first order of business is to file last meeting notes. Can I get a motion?
Ronson, it's Bill. I'll make a motion.
Great. We'll receive and file the meeting notes. And the first order of business, I just updated the agenda. I noticed I posted the old agenda yesterday. So the new agenda is up. It's a little bit different. We have a special guest from the city of Hawthorne. They're a new nonprofit in our area. New as in 2019. They've been around, but new to us anyways. And so we're gonna give them 10 minutes to tell us a little bit about themselves. But we want to first talk about the COC board and the CES Policy Council. And I think what we want to do going forward in these meetings is get an update from our COC and CES policy representative for SPA 8. I think that's a great, it'll be a good thing for us to kind of get to know, understand what's going on those two very important bodies. For those who don't know, the COC board is in charge of the COC funding from HUD. While it's a small part of our overall county funding, they play a big role in terms of directionally kind of how things are going to go in homeless services, especially as it relates to HMIS access, since that is a HUD mandate to have a homeless management information system. So that's in their purview. The CES Policy Council is, well, I mean, our whole system is the CES system. And so the CES Policy Council is very influential in terms of making the rules, if you will, of how the system operates. And so that is also a very important body. And what we want to do is have our representative on those two bodies update us, but then we also want to start a two-way communication with those bodies. And so if there's anything we can uplift to our representatives so that they can uplift to the bodies, that's the idea. And we have here today our representative, Carriel Escalante, who actually represents us on both the bodies. So we killed two birds with one stone here with Carriel. And really happy to have her. Enjoyed working with her in the past for helping domestic violence victims, and great to have her here. Carriel, you want to take it away and give us some updates?
Yes, thank you, Ronson, for that very in-depth introduction. Yeah, so to all of you who don't know me, my name is Carriel, and I had been working with Rainbow for a long time, and with many of you already in this call. And so I do want to start off just by a little bit of information. At this point, unfortunately, there's might be some transition. I'm no longer working in SPA 8. So at this point, I don't live in SPA 8. I'm committed to continue supporting as much as it's possible, but I've had conversations with LASA, and there's still some they need to look into a little bit more. But just for warning that there might be a possibility for a transition, and if there is, so we can start thinking about that and be mindful about that. And if not, I'm happy to continue to support in any way that I can, because as I mentioned, I've been working with SPA 8 for so long.
Great. Thanks for that, Carriel. And and we just heard about this last week. So this is all very new, but we hopefully we'll continue. You'll continue to have ties to SPY and be able to service us in some capacity. So, but yeah, in the meantime, it sounds like I know we kind of talked briefly, but it sounds like we're gonna still operate for now, anyways, as if nothing's changed, and until we get further direction from the two bodies
Yeah.
in terms of your role.
Yes, well, I have confirmed that for CES Policy Council, I can continue to support in that aspect because that's a DV appointed position, so that I'm happy to provide updates in that regard. And as far as for that, we will continue to hear more and let you know. I will continue to support. So let me know. Right, I'm happy to hear of any of the background or anything that you want me to lift in those meetings. But I guess to get to a few of the updates of what's been going on with the meetings at EOC, let me get started. So one of the things that we have been working on and have approved in one of our past meetings recently was the performance improvement and reallocation policy. And so this is specifically going to affect any programs on years 2024, 2025 that are federally funded. So the intention behind this is that to provide like assessments and provide any technical assistance for any providers that are having a difficulty in like implementing those funds in a way that is effective and in a way that is efficient, right? So it's also just a little bit of kind of checks and balances to make sure that that LAS is also providing that support. Technical assistance would be provided. I mean, there isn't a process to appeal this. Initially, and technical assistance can be provided as well as like it would be a 2-year period before any reallocation is considered. And it would start with partial and then incrementally go up and if no improvement is seen. So that's to that extent on that regard. If there's no questions, I can go ahead and move on that.
Yeah, just to clarify, so it's really just only on federally funded programs. Most of the COG programs are Measure H funded, so I guess it doesn't really necessarily apply to us, but that's
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're working with any of that, just to let you all know. So next on that, well, as you know, like the NOFO for HUD is coming out. One of the changes that we're gonna see or that we've seen is that this is a 2-year NOFO. So funding priorities were what we've discussed as far as like what.
Emmy, question. Sorry, I think I'm toggling a bit between.
Sorry.
No problem. All right. Again, this is COC funds, but that has been the focus. So I just want to share an update on what it looks like. So yeah, we'll go ahead and share those updates. So for the COC bonus, the priorities that we have decided on for the spot has been HMIS. And for, I mean, I'm fairly newer to the COC board, so last year there was an HMIS policy that was passed. And so there's a lot of focus in how do we go ahead and make sure that all of that information is shared. There's also checks and balances in that regard. There's the committee that was formed that just recently met. So there's a lot of focus in that respect and a lot of investments in that, not just from the COC board, but or no, excuse me, not just from our COC, but also from the city and the county. So, I mean, to continue on that, the way that the funding priorities, at least for the COC bonus, have been decided on has been one HMIS, and that would be up to 2.7 million. Then the next two priorities would be, and I apologize. Because my background is a lot in domestic violence, there's an additional $500,000 that's going to be an investment for a comparable database for domestic violence providers, which is really great because with this new comparable database, we're hoping that it would be easier to integrate the numbers that we're going to see in the victim service provider realm into the dashboards that we're seeing come up through LASA. So that's part of that as far as the first priority. There's also a priority for permanent supportive housing. This would be specifically for project-based. sponsored base. So and the amount is to be determined just based on the RFP. And third, we would see permanent supportive housing. The third priority would be, but those would be the tenant base type of permanent supportive housing. So that's for the COC bonus specifically. And then again, there's also a DV bonus that comes out for $5 million, and that's for new projects. And just to share a little bit about that, the DV field has been working on similar, like in alignment with the comparable database. They're working in a centralized access system, kind of modeling over. I know Seattle has a great model where there's like a unified hotline that sends information to providers and connects them to different supportive services as well as housing resources, whether it be like emergency or longer term that's needed, right? So it's a little bit more streamlined. And so that's still in the works, but definitely there's need for funds to support that. So the way that those $5 million were voted on were on two priorities, which was the centralized access. And then also with that, there would be hiring of matchers specifically that would support with survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking, and any emergency transfers that need to happen. So and the second priority for that DV bonus would then be the joint component, the rapid rehousing transitional housing component model, as that seems to be what's fits the unique needs of the survivors that way. So those are the more recent things that we coming up and have been focusing on. Happy to bring in any other information that you'll want to share, or if you have any questions, I can try to answer them to the best of my ability.
Kathy, you have your hands raised.
Yeah, I do. Hi, Carrie L. and
Hello.
everybody. Okay, so you talk about permanent supportive housing. Is in the plan for the long range? I
Okay.
work with a lot of the seniors in particular, okay, who are meet the criteria for the need for permanent supportive housing. But the one criteria that COC keeps them out of is the fact that they are not homeless. Okay, they meet the criteria every other way. So is there any plan, or was there any conversations about bringing in prevention to try and keep these numbers that keep exploding to a minimum?
I can't say that there's been any conversation at this point.
I knew it. I knew it. Okay, but I'm bringing it up, okay?
And I'm taking notes, do not worry.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I guess that's where would that be? Would that be COC or CES?
That's a really good question. I think that would be maybe more CES.
Yeah, maybe on the prevention side of things. Yeah. I know we wanted to talk about families in the HMIS system, but yeah, I mean, I think the seniors, I think there are a couple of issues kind of, we know senior populations are growing. We're also hearing that Adult Protective Services is kind of scaling back some of their programs, which is not great to hear, especially since our senior population is growing. And so maybe we can uplift that as well in the CES meetings to kind of suss out what that's all about, because I think the Home Safe program, which is the Adult Protective Services program, they're talking about cutting funding for that, or at least scaling it back in some way, right, Kathy?
It's ending June 2025.
Oh,
It's done.
okay. Yeah, no, I think that would be appropriate for us to bring up at the CES Policy Council meetings, and see what is like, is there anything that can be done on their end to support that or leverage any other resources for that?
Okay. Thanks, Carrie L.
And then, so any other questions about the DV, the DV, new kind of database, and then the funding for the DV stuff that Carrie L mentioned? Okay. See, if not, Carrie L, we wanted to uplift, two issues to you and the CES. and COC. The first one is the family system, and this is more CES. So we're seeing the family system really impacted, long wait times to even just to talk to someone, lack of resources for families. And so there's a couple of things we wanted to kind of, and we've been talking to LASA, we've been talking to the CEO in the county, and we continue to advocate for more resources on the family system. I think there's four things. And then the first one is that, right now there's a wall between the adult and family system. So if you're a nonprofit that has a adult contract and a family contract, you're okay. Because then you can, in HMIS, you can see both families and adults in HMIS. If you're a nonprofit that only has an adult contract and not a family contract, then you can't see the family side of things, and it's really difficult to then help families because your adults only contract. And so what we want to do is to have more nonprofits who are adults only be able to see families. And so I know Lori Ramey's on here, and she's an example of that. She's with Mental Health America in Long Beach, but they service SPA 8. Lori, do you want to kind of carry out kind of your take on it, and how you have some capacity to help families, but currently your hands are a little bit tied?
Yeah, sure. So yes, my program is adult only. We don't have programs for the family side. But we do come across, so I oversee MDT teams across the SPA, and we do come across families quite frequently. And it's really hard to know, one, if they're already connected, what their status is, if they need to be reconnected. And then we're having difficulty getting them connected. So I had shared with Ronson in the past, we're more than willing. We know that the family system is really impacted, and we're more than willing to do the legwork, but we don't have any way to connect what we're doing to the family system. For example, we don't have access to a family CES. So when we do an assessment, it's only for an adult, for an individual. So it's highly inaccurate. It doesn't reflect the minors. It doesn't reflect the family situation, which really does create a barrier for accessing resources for families. So even if there's no room in the family system for them, and then we're trying to locate additional resources, it limits our ability to do that. So whatever that looks like, whether it's just having us have a read only, or have some streamlined way to be able to get our folks with a family CES, because as you know, for most permanent supported housing, that CES, that VI-SPDAT number is really important. Even though we'd like it not to be important, it still is in our current system. So some way to help get people to have access to that. We just want to help. We're kind of sidelines and we see the need, and we will help anybody that we come across, but we're limited in what we can really connect people to.
You have a pretty big team, right, Lori? How many people are on your team?
I actually have 7 teams. I have 5 MDT teams, a public spaces team, and a harm reduction team. So there's about 25 of us.
Wow.
I have a question, just kind of following up. Would a read-only access, would you just base your resources on whatever is like the guidelines and based on the score that's already been provided by the other provider, or do you need to continue, perform another VI-SPDAT in that case?
Ideally, it'd be great if we could do our own CES, but I'd like to start with being able to look up to see if there's already one in place, because then we can just use that to, help refer them to other places. But if there's not one already conducted or in place, then that's where we can step in and do it. If they're not going to give us that access, then at least, give us the means to reconnect people back to where they got that assessment and who they were working with, because sometimes they'll just fall out, and the family system doesn't even know where they're at, and then we're meeting with them and we don't even know that the family system is working with them.
Okay, that makes sense. No, and I think it's unfortunate that we see that there's capacity in other places and we can't really do anything. I'm sure that that's going to be yeah, I'll definitely go ahead and bring that up and see what the response is. If we're seeing that in our area, I'm sure it's happening in other spots as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Carrie. And I think also if anyone wants to chime in on this separation between adults and families, feel free. The other thing we think might be helpful too is to create like a family TLS flex pool. And so, as you may know in CES, what they've done, they've prioritized TLS into the shelters. These are time limited subsidies. Sorry for any of the acronyms. If you don't know an acronym, just feel free to shout out, and we can expand on it. But these time limited subsidies are kind of consolidated into the shelters, comparative housing navigation, and there's limited spots. But from what we understand, there was roughly $20 million of underspend on the family TLS pot of money last fiscal year. And so if they're rolling that over into this fiscal year, the idea would be to create a more flexible TLS pool of funds that anyone can maybe access. And they don't have to necessarily be in a shelter. So these could be families in cars or, or families that are kind of staying with relatives, and they're like doubled up. And so that's another idea that we had. And then, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, let me just ask a few questions on that because when we're talking about this, we're not talking specifically just on COC funds. We're talking because I know COC funds are so restrictive, right? So we're talking on all funds that we'd like to see this flexibility with.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure what's funding the TLS pool, if it's federal Measure H or a combination of that. But yeah, to the extent that there could be some flexibility. I mean, prior to them consolidating TLS into the shelters, it was more flexible, right? And then 2 years ago, they decided to consolidate TLS into the shelters. And so what we want to do is see if they can maybe create this flex pool of funds to access.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've struggled with that in some programs that I've worked with before that really the flexibility of the funds, we've had to become resourceful in finding alternative funds. But
Yeah, and like I said, there was about $20 million of underspend. That was the last report I saw at the LASA Commission. And just to give you that's about 40% of the funds is underspent. So it's a huge number. So if we can put that money to good use, that would be great. And then two other ideas that we had was, I know there's a faith-based pilot in SPA 6 that LASA is doing. If we can maybe see if we can roll that out into the other spas. What they're trying to do is fund faith-based organizations to stand up, shelters or rooms or beds for folks. And so that was like another idea. And then the last idea was to maybe even opening up the winter shelters for families right now, see if there's any funding for that. But yeah, those are just some of the ideas that we had.
I would love to see the winter shelter expansion, the 2 families. That would be great.
Yeah, and then some of the notes in the chat, Kaylee brought up everyone in meeting about senior homelessness. Thanks for bringing that up, Kaylee. We're gonna staff that. Kathy's gonna staff that for the COG. And so yeah, check that link out. It sounds interesting. They're gonna be talking about the senior homelessness issue. And and I guess it's like, $10,000 for SPA 6 faith-based organizations for capacity building. We're actually in talks with some faith-based organizations ourselves with the help of Cliff, our SPA 8 faith-based lead. And we have some couple of bites, some churches having rooms and they need money for furniture and things like that. So we're looking to work with them to see if we can maybe tap into some of our own funds to help support that.
I'm sorry, what spot did you say? SPA 8 or SPA 6?
The pilot program that they're doing with losses in SPA 6.
Okay.
And people can only apply for $10,000. So it's actually not for services. I believe it was originally supposed to be, but it is now for small faith-based organizations and small nonprofits, and it's for capacity building.
Okay, thanks, Shannon. Okay.
That's just
Um,
something that would be of interest expanded to. So for Shannon, for clarification, the $10,000 is only for capacity building within like faith-based organizations that want to implement programs like this?
It's for it's any organization under $300,000.
Mhm.
And it's for anyone kind of implementing programs around homeless services. I can send you guys the packet.
Is that what we would like to see replicated in this area?
yeah, I mean, it sounds like we do have faith-based organizations that are interested in capacity building, just based on the conversations I've had with Cliff. So yeah, I think that's something like if it was available, we would definitely send out to our organizations to see if we get any bites.
Okay, great.
And then just moving on, unless anyone else has anything else to add to the family side of things. Okay, so then just moving on, the other issue that we're having, and this is for the COC board, is HMIS access for our cities. And so we have on Carson, Hawthorne. We will be onboarding Inglewood pretty soon too. Although I think because they're leveraging St. Margaret Center, they won't have as much of a problem. But Carson, Rayanne, or Maroli, do you want to kind of shed some light in terms of why this is so important? How you guys actually don't have any access at all, and so what difficulties you're facing when you're out on the streets providing direct services to your folks in Carson?
Thanks, Ronson. I appreciate you giving us this opportunity to speak on that. I'm actually going to defer this one to Megan, as she brought this to my attention as it relates to how difficult it has been for them as an outreach team. So, Megan or Maroli, if you guys can chime in on this, please.
Yeah, so some of the things that we run into, I think first and foremost, we can't place shelter referrals without the access to HMIS. It's also difficult if somebody's already working with a case manager. It's difficult to get them back in touch with that case manager. It's kind of difficult to, we might be doing double the work because we don't have access to the notes and we don't know what somebody else has already done for them. We can't pick up where they left off. Is there anything else?
No, those are kind of the most important things. And even a lot of the times they're unaware of who they're working with. And then they're like, oh, I lost my phone, so now I don't know who I'm working with. And it makes it at times really difficult to bridge that gap. And it's just another barrier in our way to where we could already have them connected if we had access to something like that and make it much easier, especially because we are not case managers. We want to be sure that we can refer them to someone who can advocate and give them the services and resources that they're looking for.
And something else that's important is since we can't, put any of our people on HMIS, they are not eligible for, when a permanent supportive housing pops up, they're not going to be, there's not a possibility for them to be randomly selected.
Yeah, I mean, that's a topic that I can relate with a lot, just the accessibility of any resources that are not, for anyone that's not included in HMIS. Is there any specific goals that you would like to see? Because I feel like access for the city as a whole might just be difficult. Any specific departments or specific that should be prioritized and listed in accessibility?
Wait, I'm sorry, you cut off a lot.
Oh, hey, Maroli, can you mute yourself really quick? Just because we're getting a lot of road noise. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. No, I was asking, is there any specific roles or any specific positions that you would see, that you would want to see prioritized in this discussion about accessibility to HMIS?
Sorry, we're turning the AC off.
Okay, I'm just asking like it's as far as I really highly doubt that access for the entire city can be granted. So it's like any specific roles or any departments that you would see that you would like to see prioritized.
I mean, as far as our city goes, I think it would probably just be our team and maybe I think there's a couple of other, maybe like two other roles within our city that would benefit from access.
Yeah. So a total of maybe 6 people.
Mhm.
So it's not asking for access for the whole city, because our program is relatively small,
Mhm.
but it's, you know, even if we can get read only starting just so that we can at least try to connect them to somebody else, that would be helpful just starting off. But yeah, because we're not a very big department.
Okay. I I mean, it seems like accessibility is like the biggest barrier, and it came up multiple times during this discussion. So we can, and there is an HMIS committee, but this that has been formed. So I think that might be the perfect space for that. I can go ahead and raise that and try to see like what other cities need that. I also know that as I mentioned earlier, funding has been approved for that and prioritized for HMIS licenses and support, but it's still not the full amount that's needed for like our existing like the existing licenses that are already being supported with. So I don't know how much we can get through that, but let me ask you this, and I don't know if you know the response to this. Would the city be willing to support like with any funding in order to access those licenses?
Yes, we would.
Got it. Okay.
And Carrie, I think Diana also has her hand raised. Diana's from the city of Gardena.
Hi, Diana.
Hi. Yes, I'm the homeless coordinator here at the city of Gardena, and initially we didn't have access to HMIS. Now we do, thankfully, which we're very grateful for because it does give us a lot of access to just a lot of people's situation stories. Again, we can reconnect them to an agency if they lost touch. Or we could just kind of look back and see what services they were receiving, things like that. But if it wasn't for Ronson, I wouldn't know that I was actually just getting limited access to HMIS. So Maroli and Megan, I'm not sure if you're just for the city of Carson. But if you are and you do get access to HMIS, not to burst your bubble, but unless things change, it's going to be limited. So I know you mentioned like doing a shelter referral through HMIS. That's not something that I'm able to do with the access I do have to HMIS. So I think that would be really great too. But at least for now, we can at least put in notes and, you know, upload documents, make some edits, create an account. But we can't do like, you know, referrals, things like that.
Can I ask how I suppose like also how were you able to access even that limited capacity?
I just requested LASA. You know, I did the training, and submitted the documents that they request. But basically, from my understanding, the reason why I'm able to get access to HMIS is because we've created a specific role. I'm the homeless coordinator. So because of that, that's kind of like our loophole into gaining access, even though I work through the city of Gardena.
Just to share a little bit, for victim service providers, there's no access to, we cannot input any information into HMIS, right? So it's really challenging. Totally understand like the challenges that you're facing. When we were able to, well, only because of a specific, in my previous role, the domestic violence regional coordinator, I was able to obtain access, but not input. It was only for the sole purpose of reconnecting. And so it was really limited. So yeah, I understand that. But okay, I think this aligns with the previous conversation we're having about accessibility as well. So in the adult system and family systems. So that might be a good topic. Dulce, I see that you have your hand up.
Hey, Dulce, you there? Dulce's from the city of Hawthorne. Dulce. She might be busy. Might got a phone call. But yeah, Dulce is so what happened with Dulce is she was part of St. Margaret Center, and then she then became a direct hire of the city and then lost her HMIS access. And so she's now running into the same issues as well. And we actually also contract with LA Cotta in Hawthorne. They're a direct service provider nonprofit, and for some reason they also have limited access to HMIS. So it just seems like we run into barriers when cities are trying to take initiative, are trying to step up and help their constituents, but they're running into a wall when it comes to care coordination, referrals, inputting notes, all things that I would think would be important for the system, but it just seems like there's this barrier when cities try to do it, and it's just really ironic to me because we want the county and the state, they keep telling our cities to build more housing, build shelters, but we don't want you to actually work in the system. So it's just I don't know, it just seems counterintuitive.
Bronson, can you try manually unmuting Dulce? It says can't initiate audio, but maybe if you manually do it.
I can't do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can only ask her to unmute.
Okay.
Lori and then Zoma.
Hi, yeah, hi, Carrie, good to see you. Just to add, when I was with the COG, I would get calls initially from Diana before she had access and other cities because they'd have somebody walk in their door and they just were working blind. The people had no idea who their case manager or whatever was. And I could only find out through my connections with Kathy that they were even in the system. So it's a total waste of time because they have to start all over. And it's just, this is not good collaboration. So at least we got Diana access, but then it's limited access. So that's a Band-Aid. That at least you can find out the person is in the system, and quite often you could see the history. And honestly, what I would have to do if it was limited access is call somebody kind of under the table who has more access, who could look it up for us, because we need the name of the case manager to find out what's going on. But it's just a total lack of coordination and waste of time. So I just really, it's really important that more have access. And my suggestion for Carson is at least to get their foot in the door, maybe at least just get one person in Carson to have access, and then they can share the information. Maybe asking for a bunch of people will be too big an ask. So just an idea. Thanks.
Lori, and just to chime in, sorry if I'm interrupting. I know some folks have their hands up, but we have been trying for almost 2 years now. I've tried, and it is a little frustrating to know that other cities have access, but not us. And I've tried everything. We flew out to Washington, D.C. to speak at the National Alliance and try to get access that way, and it still hasn't happened. So as a supervisor for my team, I've been trying to advocate on so many different levels. Ronson has been a big advocate for us as well. And I'm like, tell me what I need to do and I'll do it at this point.
Rand, I don't know why all of a sudden Diana got in there and Zoma got access, but they had to push really hard. And I don't know if they talked to the right person on one particular day and they woke up on the right side of the bed. I really don't know. I see Zoma has her hand up too. Lila had lost access when she went to Redondo Beach, so she couldn't get in there anymore. And Ronson and Kathy don't have access either.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, my hunch, to be honest, Ryan, I think it's because you guys are organized yourselves in the public safety office. I think that's why. But
Gotcha.
yeah. But Zelma, you want to go next?
Thank you, Ronson. And I pretty much just want to share that it was a very tough effort getting initial access to HMIS. First of all, the city of Torrance never did have homeless services. And then we brought Valerie on board from Harbor Interfaith, where she lost her access like Lila did. And so then by talking to the CEO's office, LA County, they provide the authority for us to go through the training and have access. With that being said, without that access is duplicating efforts. Like everybody has said in this call, you don't know if that person has already a case manager or is coming from a different city where they're already close to being housed. And without having that information in front of you, it's like starting the process all over again. In addition, when we request for client aid funds, one of the guidelines on the application is to make a note on the HMIS client file that they've received this funding. Without that access, those notes can't be added. So we're thankful to LA County CEO's office for giving us access. More than happy to share on who we spoke with to obtain that access. So thank you.
Yeah, that would be great. So if you can share any more guidance on that, maybe we can have an offline meeting about that, and then we can try to. It seems like there's a lot of that happening. So, if we could get a group together or whatnot and just kind of share, and I don't want to hold this up anymore because I know there's other things on the agenda, but I'll see. Catherine, you have your hand up?
Yeah, Kathy and Marco, if you can make it quick. I think Carol gets it. And she'll try
Yeah,
to
no,
uplift
I
it.
was gonna say,
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what I was gonna say. Carrie L's got it. Because I had the access, lost it, so now I have to depend on certain of these other case managers when I need to find out information to help a client. So it's backwards now.
Yeah.
Marco.
Hey everyone, Marco Santana with COHI. Yes, I just wanted to highlight that we ourselves we don't grant access or not, but we can help facilitate and make sure you're connecting to the right folks. It is LASA's HMIS support team, but we can definitely help escalate if there's any issues. And across the county, we are working, myself, Kaylee, who's here, my colleague One, are working to make sure that if there is instances like this, we are getting you all connected and escalating as needed. But HMIS support is the right service. And like I said, we can help escalate that, of course, as well.
That would be great. I think you're gonna have to put your email address on the
Yeah.
chat. You can have a lot of people. It's unfortunate that we have to do the escalation of that, but
Well, thanks, Carrie, all for your time, and thank you for being our point person on the board. Hopefully, you'll continue to serve us in that function moving forward. Yeah, and then anything we can do to help you carry on your efforts, let us know.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. We actually have some guests today. Like I mentioned, they've been around Spot 8 for a while, but the first time I've met this organization. It's called A Sense of Home, and they're based out of Hawthorne. We have let's see, Andrea Murray, she was actually one of the first people I met when I got to homeless services when she was at Safe Place for Youth, and Brody Butler are here. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves and just take it away?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Ronson. And honestly, hearing all of you grapple with how to make your work easier and how to support your clients better, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all that you do. I know it's a lot. It's an honor to be here. Is it cool if I share screen?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then Brody, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
One moment. All right. Pulling it up right now. Hitting share. Hitting view. And here we are. All right, everybody. So I'm here to share information, like Ronson mentioned, on a sense of home. We've been around for, it'll be 10 years next year, but as Ronson mentioned, we moved into Hawthorne in 2019. We'll start with introducing ourselves. My name is Andrea Marie Kitchen. I'm the Director of Community Impact here at A Sense of Home. We got Brody in the house.
Yeah, my name is Brody. I'm the Director of Programs at A Sense of Home. I oversee the whole life cycle of the home creation, so inventory, warehouse, intake, design, and then after the home creation, all the alumni relations and all the resources and programs that we provide. I come from homeless services, so I used to work for the People Concern in both Skid Row and the Access Center, so I have some experience in that sector as well. So very excited to share this really great resource with you all.
And I love this photo of you, Brody. I
Oh,
myself,
thank
as Ronson mentioned, I've been in homeless services for, it'll be 10 years next month, starting with PATH, then St. Joseph Center, and then Safe Place for Youth. And I'm pretty new here at A Sense of Home. And let's start with who we are. So A Sense of Home's mission is to prevent homelessness by creating first ever homes in a community for youth aging out of the foster care system. In 90 minutes, we invite volunteers like these to fully create someone's first ever home. That means bringing in the couch, building that dresser, getting everything they need so that apartment isn't an empty space. They're not sleeping on the floor. It's really so that they can thrive. We're going to talk a little bit more about the different types of programs, but namely how you can refer your clients into A Sense of Home if they are former foster youth. And then I, of course, will end with how to help us if you have volunteers, if you want to volunteer yourself, if you have partners interested. It's definitely an all hands on deck approach, as you all are familiar with already in this space. We are almost at 1,000 homes created, which is wild, and 21,000 volunteers, and again, 9 years of service with 10 years in a pot next year. And I love these stats here. After we create homes, so providing this furniture assistance for former foster youth, over 80% report feeling in control of their finances. 100% feel hopeful about their future. Sometimes I'm like, really 100%? But this one, I feel that survey. I having been to several home creations now since I've started, I really do feel that. 100% report feeling confident in their ability to succeed and report feeling equipped to take on life's challenges. I love seeing DCFS refer former foster youth into our systems, different agencies like St. Anne's referring them into our home creations. And then once they're in our community, they then receive our monthly resource newsletter, which Brody will get to in a moment. And also we have our A Sense of Home Resources Instagram so that they stay connected, not only with other resources in the community, but also us providing a scholarship, A Sense of Home, which Brody will get to in a little bit, provides a scholarship as well for their educational aspirations. But enough about me talking. I'm going to show the world's fastest video so you could really see what a home creation is about, and that will better equip you in referring your clients or referring partners to support us. And I did turn on that sound, but let me know if you can't hear me, okay?
I think some of the challenges of living without furniture are sitting on the floor, having dinner on the floor, or it feels empty in here. Having the sense of home here today, it's gonna help me have a peace of mind. I am excited, nervous, I got the butterflies in my stomach. I'm just excited.
We're here to celebrate you because you're worthy of this. You deserve this. You deserve all this love. You'll feel this love, and it's really beautiful. And thank you guys. Thanks, Revocable, because we couldn't do it without you guys.
It means a lot, you know, that they take their time out of the day to come make a creation for me here, and I really appreciate it.
Today we've partnered up with A Sense of Home to do a home creation for Zoe. She just moved into her first apartment and we are helping the team furnish it. Yesterday, I also got to be part of a smaller team that went to the Sense of Home warehouse, and we got to choose all of the items that would go into Zoe's space. We really took it seriously and wanted to choose items that, you know, weren't just thrown together, but really made the space bright and peaceful and catered to some of the requests that she had, so that we could really give her a home that she loved. I think having a furnished home is so important. It shows that it's lived in, and you can see your life.
Just a quick pause, y'all. Is the audio okay for everybody? It's okay for me, but I'm getting some comments that it might be cutting out.
It's fine by me.
I can hear it.
Anyone else?
Thanks, y'all. We're almost there. Let me know.
There, you want to be there. Sometimes we get so busy with work and life, and at the end of the long day, we just want to come home and feel at peace and feel safe. And I think that that is something that could be so crucial for Zoe as she's entering into adulthood and figuring out her life, to be able to have that space that she can look around and say, this is mine. This doesn't belong to anyone else but me, and I love it here.
The volunteers are today to just help out and decorate and, you know, get everything for me. It was just amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it. I was ecstatic. It was like a dream. I was lost for words. Wow, this is so pretty. I love it.
You're a big inspiration to a lot of people to make it this far at 19. And thank you to the volunteers, because without you, this wouldn't be possible. And it's bringing humanity, it's bringing kindness into this road. And you guys are examples of that every single time that you guys show up, because growing up, we don't have that. And just to see this room filled with it for her, for us, thank you.
I'm truly blessed to have people like that come and help me out and support me. And, you know, their words, too, were very, very touching.
Wishing you so many happy memories in this space.
Thank you guys. You know, it feels unreal right now. I appreciate the help today. All the kind words and support. It means a lot. I'm definitely gonna take this with me and share it with other people and remember how blessed I am.
And that's just one home creation, y'all. I'll stop sharing. I'll go back to my presentation. I love seeing case managers attending home creations because we celebrate you all as well and all your hard work. And without further ado, now you get to see, now that you understand what a home creation means, we're going to go to how you all make referrals. So let me switch back to that presentation. 1 second here. You'd think I'd be fast at this by now. Right. Cool. Brody, take it away.
All right, awesome. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that video. A home creation is really, really a special moment. And whenever those videos are shared, I just love watching them. It just, you know, just fills me with so much pride for the work that we get to do every day. We usually do about 2 home creations a week. So we get to experience that quite often. Important question is how to apply. So recipients can apply online on our website, and they would need to upload some documentation. So we would need a signed lease agreement from them. If they don't have a lease agreement at the time, that's fine. They would just at least have to have a move-in date scheduled. But if they have the move-in date scheduled, we can still move forward in the process with the phone interview, with the Zoom meet and greet. And then we would also need their age out verification too. So verification that they've aged out of the foster care system, their school or work verification, and then photos of their home as well. From there, once they've done all that, then we'll do a phone interview with them. So at A Sense of Home, we really like to get to know our recipients on a really deep level, not only because we want to get to know them and their journey, and but also because we really like to tailor the home design to them and their preferences and their interests. And so the phone interview, we could go quite into depth about who they are, what their interests are, and how they envision their home. And then we also do a Zoom meet and greet after that as well. So that's recorded and then sent out to volunteers and staff, so that way they can better get to know them and what they envision for their home. And then from there, we'll schedule them for a home creation. So we actually have two different kind of types of home creations right now. We have the full on-site, which you all saw in that video, but we also have warehouse pickups as well. So if anyone's outside of our 45-mile radius, or they already have some items and they just want some extra stuff to supplement what they already have, we can do a warehouse pickup whereby we get them a U-Haul gift certificate for $200. They would reserve the truck, they would bring it here, we would load the truck for them, and then they would take all the items back. So one of that first images that was shown, that was actually a recipient in our recipient lounge hanging out while their U-Haul was being packed for them. All right, so now on to eligibility. So like I said, they must have proof that they have aged out of the foster care system. They must be working or going to school, or a combination of work and school for at least 30 hours per week. So we would need to see a pay stub, a course schedule, anything along those lines. We just need to see that they're going to school and working for at least that amount of hours. They must not reside in transitional housing, so it must be permanent housing. If they are renting a room, that's okay. We would just only be able to furnish that room. However, we do have a new thing now where we do second requests. So if someone does get their room furnished, but then ultimately they end up moving into the very first owned apartment all to themselves, then we can do a second home creation for them, or just a warehouse pickup. They must reside in Greater Los Angeles area. So like I said, we have a 45-mile radius from the warehouse. So we would only be able to do full on sites for people who are within that radius. They must have their name on the lease agreement, and then they must be requesting assistance for their first home. So this would have to be the first place that they are on the lease agreement. All right, next slide. We also, after the home creation, have loads of resources for our recipients. And what's really awesome is because a lot of our resources are internal, we don't have to go kind of, through all the red tape and, the kind of bureaucratic kind of procedures. We can just connect them right then and there. So, we have our resource network. We have a resource guide that we provide all the recipients at home creations for warehouse pickups. We have an Instagram where we share resources on there. We have a monthly resource newsletter that gets sent out. We have alumni events year round. And so with that, we have like the wellness event. We actually have an event coming this Saturday called the Summer Celebration, where we'll have loads of resources, inflatables, DJs, music, all of that fun stuff. We also have a scholarship program too. So this is for alumni of A Sense of Home only. And it's $18,750 to go towards tuition, living expenses, and also for emergencies as well. So we just closed applications for that for this year, and we'll announce the winners on August 16th, which is exciting. We also have our Pay It Forward alumni program as well. So in that video, you saw Michelle talking. She's one of our PIFA, Pay It Forward alumni, and so they have the opportunity to come back and actually volunteer at other people's home creations as well, which is really special to see. And with that, once they are considered a PIFA, they get access to PIFA exclusive events. If they attend 10 home creations, they get to attend our gala as well. So we really try to create this sense of community with a sense of home, even after the home creation, to really kind of provide that support system to recipients so they can achieve the highest potential.
Beautiful. And I love this photo of you too, Brody. Can you tell I went all out? And then on my side of things for how to help, always please keep an eye out for furniture and houseware donations. Used, gently used, or gently loved, we like to say. Folks can sign up on our website and then deliver it to our warehouse in Hawthorne on Tuesdays. I actually have a small but mighty discount from Lug as well, so that they can provide the transportation, that truck pickup if you can't. And then we also have an Amazon wish list, and you'll see me on our Instagram, A Sense of Home org. I'm always sharing our top needs, like right now, our dressers. We're also always welcoming volunteer groups to help build furniture. We have a high need right now to build side tables, again in Hawthorne, ideally with a suggested donation, but certainly not required. And then keep your eyes and ears peeled, just in case you see any leads for home creation sponsors. It's $8,000 to fully create a home, and that helps us purchase all the furniture, but also keep our lights on. We just had an incredible home creation with Supervisor Holly Mitchell. So we welcome government agencies to collaborate with us, but also community groups like Rotary clubs, faith-based organizations, groups of friends doing it for someone's birthday, a little bit of everything. And the holidays are coming up hot as well. So with that, again, thank you for all that you do. Brody's your go-to for referrals, for all programs related questions. If you have a resource you'd like us to share on our resource newsletter or on our Instagram for former foster youth, let Brody know. And then I'm here as well for all volunteer and partnership inquiries. Take a look at our website, take a look at our Instagram. Any questions?
Thank you, Andrea and Brody. So I also noticed that when I was there visiting, they're in a great space, by the way. You guys should definitely check out their warehouses. It's right next to Common Space Brewery in Hawthorne. Also, shout out to Common Space. They sponsored one of our happy hours for our case managers one time. But it's a great area. When I was there, Andrea, I noticed that you also help not only transition age youth, but also younger mothers who kind of have aged out of the foster system. And I did notice a lot of family stuff there, like kids squishmallows, game boards, things like that. So can you talk a little bit about how you support like young mothers? And then also and then maybe talk a little bit about how they don't necessarily have to be like recently aged out. They just have to have proof that they've been aged out at some point in the past.
Yeah, I could take that question.
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I mean, what's really awesome is we don't have an age limit. So it's not just transitional age youth, but could be anyone just as long as they've aged out. We've had people who are recipients who are in their mid-30s apply and receive services. And with, recipients who have kids, we provide all the stuff for their kids too. So like all those toys you were seeing, we provide them those. We really like to provide as many toys as possible, basically fully furnished in their home, including the kids' rooms. And yeah, they don't need to be recently transitioned out. We just have to receive proof that they aged out at 18 or 21. Sometimes there's, some special circumstances that the team will run by me, and we'll see if we can move forward, such as if they return to their biological parents, but they weren't able to care for them like they were supposed to, then we would still accept that. So there's always kind of special circumstances, we take things case by case sometimes, but that's really kind of the beautiful thing of no age limit, and we provide support for the entire family, including the dependents.
Great. All right. Well, thank you, Andrea and Brody. And there's no further questions. Really appreciate you guys coming here and introducing us to your great work.
Thanks, Ron.
Okay, great. All right. So moving on our agenda, I have two other special guests. We have Shannon Murray from WLCAC and Jonathan Saeed from St. Margaret Center. And we're launching a brand new program to take care of some gaps in street to housing case management work. Many of our cities as you may know, provide case management services. Carson, they provide what I call light touch case management or advanced outreach, however you want to look at it. And so what we want to do is provide some more kind of hands-on case management work in cities that may not have that capability, especially some of our smaller cities on our eastern side of the South Bay. And so these are the cities that we're covering in our program. And we're dividing it by the nonprofit provider that's covering the area. So these include unincorporated areas as well as portions of city of LA that's in our region. So St. Margaret Center will be handling Lenox, Del Air, Westmont, West Athens. Those three are unincorporated areas. Inglewood, Lawndale, and Laundrette Park, and they will have 2 case managers dedicated of doing street to housing case management work in those areas. WLCAC will be handling Wilmington, Harbor Gateway, Harbor City, Gardena, East Gardena, Carson, West Carson, and Lomita. And so that's kind of the territories. This is a tentative schedule, what we're looking to do and how we're looking to staff. So there'll be 3 teams of 2, and they'll be spread out on these dates on a weekly basis. And then what we're looking to do near term is to meet with each and every city or community organization to introduce the teams. But we wanted to kind of kick it off here. Why don't we start with Shannon, since Shannon, you're not necessarily new to our area because you do manage our safe parking site in the Torrance adjacent area. Shannon, you want to introduce yourself and kind of your background in SPA 6 and what you're looking to do in SPA 8, and then take it away.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I've been coming to these for a while, but so my name is Shannon Murray. I've been doing homeless services for over 25 years. I'm the director of our homeless and housing programs at WLCAC. Also the SPA 6 Homeless Coalition Chair, as well as a board member of Sanctuary of Hope. So we are excited to be working in SPA 8. A lot of the communities kind of Watts, which is where we're based, is affected by what happens in SPA 8 a lot, because I think we end up getting a lot of folks from SPA 8. So we're excited to start doing outreach in SPA 8, working on also expanding, hopefully, some of the programs in SPA 8 and working with all the providers there. And so that's it. We'll be on the ground. I'll be getting Ronson our email and phone number for the program so that if you have someone you need to refer. And we're attending, I think, all SPA 8 meetings at this point. So you'll see us around a little bit more now.
Great. Yeah. And I'm really happy to have Shannon be more involved. She does really great work in SPA 6. They do these landlord engagement fairs that we're very envious of. They get a lot of landlords out there educating them on Section 8 vouchers and other things around housing rights, things like that. She's always a great thought partner. She's very active in the CD15 working group on homelessness for years. And Laura's giving Shannon a shout out in the chat. So really happy that we can bring Shannon here. I think she'll be a great asset to SPA 8, and really excited. Jonathan. Jonathan, you want to do this?
Yeah. I'm really happy to be learning from Shannon. She's got at least triple the time in homeless services as I do. And I humbly serve St. Margaret Center as the homeless services director. And full disclaimer, I feel terrible today. So I'm going to get off camera as soon as I possibly can. But I think and I've told this to Ronson, as well as Cicella and SD2, which is the area that we're going to be covering, is we're really, really fortunate to be able to bring this style of programming back to St. Margaret Center. You know, the start of this meeting talked about, changes and updates in the CS system, some things that could be wanted. And one of those changes has been a loss of outreach contracts. And so, especially this past fiscal year. And so we've always done street to housing case management at St. Margaret Center. And so this is kind of like really exciting for us to do this again, especially in the areas that we're most familiar with. And it leverages our City of Inglewood program, and we have the program manager for that, Richard Wise, in the call as well. And so we'll kind of be boosting that program and hopefully getting more people housed. You know, this is how things started with Hawthorne, and we'd like to see that for the areas that we're going to be covering in this program. So more resources to apply are always welcome. So thank you, Ronson. Thank you, SD2 and SD4.
Great. And hope you feel better, Jonathan.
Yeah.
That summer COVID breakout.
Yeah.
And thanks for reminding me that I just want to give a shout out to Supervisor Mitchell and Supervisor Hahn, because they're the supervisors that are funding this program. So big thank you to them. And I'm actually really excited that we can be helping the unincorporated areas, as well as, the harbor area, because these are some of our biggest concentrations of homelessness. And I've always felt that we haven't done enough in those areas. And so really excited about it. And then Shannon sent her email in the chat. So if you have any questions, like I said, we'll be meeting with each and every city that are kind of in their catchment areas. And that's so more to come on that. All right. Any questions? Otherwise, we can move on to the next item. So resource utilized. Okay, so I wanted to talk about our functional zero program. Let me just share this really quick. I wanted to kind of just share this and also see if there's any feedback on it. We've been piloting a functional zero program for the past year with the city of Redondo Beach. And what it is, it's a commendation program. First, we started this program back when Jillian was here. Jillian was a master's degree candidate from UCLA. And we were thinking about, setting up goals for our cities to address this homelessness issue. And one of the things we came across, and also the county presented this to us actually in one of our task force meetings, was the idea of functional zero. And we did some research on defining it. And how we're defining it is that what we want to see is the outflow of people on the streets being greater than inflow, and that we want to see the median duration of people on the street to be less than 90 days. So the philosophy behind functional zero is that, you can't really stop people from falling into homelessness. There's always going to be something, like maybe someone gets in a car accident and now they can't work. And because of that, they're housing insecure. And so the analogy, like the best analogy I've heard is that it's like kind of like a hospital ER. You can't stop people from becoming sick, but once they go into the emergency room, what you want to do is triage them as quick as possible and get them back on their feet. And that's what we want our cities to do as well. And so this is the goal that we're looking to establish with our cities. And we've been piloting this with Redondo Beach. What we want to do is monitor their progress on functional zero and their pathway to meeting the goals that we've set. The idea is that we would work really closely with the city. In the Redondo Beach's instance, we've been monitoring their performance for the past year. And what we want to see is that city be in a functional zero state for a period of 6 months. So again, outflow being greater than inflow and median duration on the street less than 90 days. And so what we do is we meet on a monthly basis with their outreach and case management teams. And they've also been sending us weekly reports on their inflow and outflow. And this is an example of like a report. Here are some of Lila's caseloads, the people that she's been helping, their duration. So we have like zero duration folks. So Lila's been very successful in meeting someone and then at the same day getting them to Beacon Light Mission, Doors of Hope, or some other bed in the area. And then we have others that have a little bit higher durations. When we took the snapshot at the time, their median duration on the street was 54 days, which is great, less than 2 months. Inflow of 50 people, outflow of 54 people, and they had a current active caseload of 21 people. And this was before the summer kind of increase in homelessness we typically see in the beach cities. But they've been trending really well in Redondo Beach. So, what we hope to do with this program is to report to our cities who are enrolled in the program regular monthly intervals. We will provide our cities with demographic and psychographic data on their street population. And then based on this data, cities can then evaluate appropriate next steps to get closer to functional zero. We're not going to be prescriptive. The COG isn't. We just want to present the data to the cities so that they can decide what they want to do for themselves using the data. And that's been very successful in the Redondo Beach pilot. So again, when the city has achieved functional zero for a minimum of 6 months, they will have, reached the goal. And we hope to celebrate this achievement because it is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of investments that cities are making to battle homelessness. And then we hope to make sure that the achievement is sustainable. In Redondo Beach's instance, they've actually added to their investments since they've been on this program by doubling the size of their pallet shelter, and they just opened Project Home Key, and now they're looking to start an alternative crisis response program in the city. So we're going to announce pretty soon the results of the Redondo Beach pilot program. And right now, we're actually looking to enroll the next cohort of cities. We have 4 cities targeted. I can't really say which ones yet, as we're kind of working with their city managers to kind of talk about enrolling their cities. And we have limited resources at the college. It's really just me, Miranda, Addie, and so this is a very data intensive work. But we hope that we can maybe use Redondo Beach's proof of concept to kind of get more funding for this, and then we can maybe do more cities as well. So yeah, any questions or any feedback on that? Okay.
Ronson, can you go back to the chart again?
Sure.
So I see that you showed 50 people. I was just trying to determine, are those 50 people during one period of a touch point and they move along, or?
Yeah, so like it's throughout the course of the 6 months, it's everyone in the city. So everyone in the city that's on the street. So you take a snapshot of those people today, August 7th. I know in my head there's about like 25 to 30 people right now active on the streets in Redondo Beach. What is their median duration of all 30 people or 25 people? And we want that duration to be less than 90 days. And right now, the city is actually trending below a month right now. So that's great. That's what we want to see. We don't want people to linger on our streets so that they can gain more acuities. We want them to get people off the streets as fast as possible. And these include people that are sleeping in their cars. So that's the idea. And that's the goal we kind of want to set for our cities.
And that's tying them to existing resources that are in spot 8. Is that correct?
Yeah,
from
resources.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the idea also too is that with this data, we can then evaluate with the cities to see what else we're missing, and then hopefully provide other resources that can get people off the streets quicker. Yeah. One of the, I should probably at this point introduce our new housing locator. So as you all may know, Keenan has left us to do great things in the University of Chicago. And to replace them, we've hired Miranda Wirtz, who's on the call. Miranda, you want to say hi and kind of give people a little bit of your background?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Miranda. I just completed my master's of public health at UCLA, and I did a lot of focus in homeless services. I was the evaluation chair for the UCLA Mobile Clinic project on the public health team. helping connect our clients with transportation services and housing and primary care as well. And then also conducting a lot of research with the demographic survey that LASA does every year. So really excited to be in this role and help connect people with housing.
Great, thanks, Miranda. Yeah, so okay, so then let's move on to the next topic, which is okay, so resource utilization. One of the things we've been hearing is like some feedback is that one is there's not been a lot of enrollments into care court. So I think most of you guys know at this point what care court is. And if not, I'll just give a brief summary. The state pretty much established these care courts. We have one in LA County, but the idea is to, we see this all the time, are folks on the streets with mental health issues, and maybe they have some schizophrenia. And the care court's actually targeting those folks with schizophrenia as a diagnosis, a clinical diagnosis, and they're refusing services. And so what the care court is hoping to do is that through the power of the robe, so a judge, right, they can compel someone to accept services and care that they need. That's the concept. And the care court was launched earlier this year. I believe there was, last time I checked was a couple months ago, there was 150 applications across all of LA County. So it wasn't that big of a number. But I don't get a strong sense that we've done a lot of it in SPA 8. And so I wanted to just bring it up, and I want to just challenge everyone who's on the streets, or if you're a program lead and you have case managers. I'm doing it with our case managers too. Like I bring it up at every meeting. If you know of someone who is like on the streets mumbling to themselves or having paranoia, ideas, to do a test case and do a submission to the care courts. You can do a care court submission through the Torrance Courthouse. That is one of the avenues people can use to submit a care court. But again, I know we all have this on our caseloads, like the people that are kind of refusing services, who do have severe mental health issues. Let's get them the help that they need, and try this out. And I want to see how it works. I want to hear from you, like your experience with the application process, and to see if this thing can really work. So that's that. Any questions on that? Okay, if not, I want to turn it over to Miranda, who we are we've launched our time limited subsidy program. We've signed up our first city, the city of Torrance, and so I'm very excited about that. And Miranda, you want to just remind people about our TLS program?
Sure. So as Ronson said, it's pretty much ready to go. The goal for this program is to support low acuity individuals or people who are at risk of becoming homeless, or just need assistance to getting on their feet. So our TLS program would be able to cover rent for up to 1 year. Essentially just need to get a contract signed between like the city or an organization that's interested. And the mechanism for this TLS would be that we reimburse the participating cities and organizations. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll put my email in the chat as well, and we can kind of get the contract going. Bronson, did I miss anything?
No, that's it. And yeah, just it's a 1 year TLS program, so it's not the typical 2 years. So we're really looking for lower acuity folks that can really get back on their feet quickly. It could be folks, it could be families. Seniors would be a little tougher because usually don't have fixed income. But yeah, that's exactly it. And I see some questions about the care court. Yvonne, yeah, they don't have to be from Torrance. It's just the Torrance courthouse is one of the designated areas where people can submit a care court request or a care court application. And then Zoma, yeah, we can definitely try to help out. I can maybe have Addie help, or Kathy help Zoma. I mean, not Zoma, but Valerie and Norma on that participant. Janet, you had a question?
Quick question for the Torrance TLS, does that include the adjacent or is it specifically Torrance only?
Yeah,
Like Harbor Gateway.
Yeah, well, anyone can sign up to our TLS program. So like Janet, if you wanted to, we can have a contract with you. And then what we would do is like if you had someone that you wanted to roll in TLS, we would reimburse your organization on a monthly basis for that rent payment. So that's how it would work. But yeah, if you have a Torrance referral, we're doing that with the city of Torrance. So that, you know, they, as you know, they have the pallet shelter over there. And so the idea is that if anyone that's eligible for it, we would try and get them out of the pallet shelter and into a house with TLS, and as they work through their document readiness or job search, whatnot. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this is for this is like to supplement the current TLS program with the system. So as you know, like people on the streets who maybe because of trauma-informed reasons don't want to go into shelters, they're kind of right now out of luck with TLS. So we're trying to fill in some gaps there with our program. Okay. Any questions? Any other questions there? And then I just wanted to just really quickly highlight, you know, we also still have a motel and SRO program. And so that's also a reimbursement program to lease up motel rooms and SRO beds. It's like master leasing light, if you will. But the idea is to kind of increase kind of shelter bed space by leveraging motels and SROs. And then there's also a metro stipend I wanted to uplift. Oh, geez, I hope I didn't close out of it. Oh, dang. Yeah, here it is. Okay. So, there is $1,800 of transportation costs that being covered by the LA County through a prepaid debit card. And so, I mean, it basically would cover metro expenses for a year. And it includes metro bus and rail, bike share, e-scooters. So I just wanted to share this. It also includes ride shares like Uber and Lyft. So we'll send this out, but metro.net/mobility wallet for exclamation point is where you can apply with your clients. So I wanted to share that with everyone.
It's a lottery.
Oh, okay. It's always something.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, but it's a lottery.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll get lucky. Let's see.
Robson, I just want to flag some questions in the chat. Rita had a question earlier. Was that about the care court, Rita? And then also Kiana had a question about the SRO program.
Yes. Right.
The care court?
Yeah. Robson, the question.
Yeah,
and they're currently getting evicted.
Homeless.
Yeah.
I don't remember anymore if they have to be homeless or if it could be a prevention case. I have to double check on that. That's a good question.
I do think they have to be homeless, but I'm not 100% sure. Again, I think
have to be
getting evicted.
Yeah. And then the SRO program, again, that's a reimbursement program. Traditionally it's been with the cities. And so like, for example, in Redondo Beach, we are leasing 18 SRO beds, and the city kind of decides on who they put in there. But they're meant to be transitional. So yeah, I mean, the idea is that eventually they would they would graduate into permanent housing. Okay. Richard?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Ronson. With regard to the Metro transportation, I just wanted to share, just in case you might not be aware of it, that Metro has another program called LIFE. It stands for Low Income Fare is Easy, and you can go to metro.net or Google Life Fame Program, Metro Los Angeles, and it'll pull you'll find a link to the program. We use that to sign up our clients to get a tap card, and it's 90 days. Once they sign up, it's 90 days of free rides on the Metro system, and then after 90 days, they get a discount on things like maybe a monthly pass, a weekly pass, or they can get 20 free rides per month, depending on what they choose. So that is available for anybody that's not aware of that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Richard. And Richard, do you want to, I'm gonna throw this up, but I don't know if you had a chance to look it over yet because you sent this over this morning, but the HUD rental subsidy, $40 million that's made available for prevent evictions and prevent homelessness. It sounds, I haven't read through this, but it sounds like it's open to nonprofits and like city government agencies. So I don't know if you had a chance to look
Yeah,
at it, Richard.
I have not,
Okay.
but I intend to look over it because it looks like something promising to put in our arsenal.
Yeah,
Things
it's only
of our
25
clients.
awards across the entire country. So, but I'll check this out and then send this out and with a synopsis to the task force. Janet, did you have another question? No, okay. I just want to make sure. Okay, next on our agenda are legislative updates. Do we have any electeds on here? Oh, Janet, you're here. Any updates from you?
I am here. I've been listening. You guys always do the best workshops. I really do appreciate all the hard work that goes into them. I learned so much and really appreciate the updates that I can give Congressman Liu. So the House of Representatives actually has been quite busy introducing legislation to help with homelessness in various forms and create affordable housing. And I'm just going to tell you about a few new ones that have been introduced. Fingers crossed that we can get some of these through. One that was kind of interesting and recent is HR 6608, End Hedge Fund Control of American Homes Act. Different, huh? The bill imposes an excise tax on hedge fund taxpayers that own a certain number of single-family residents in excess of a specified amount. So it seems that hedge funds are coming in and gobbling up all of our housing and making it very difficult for the average person to get into a home. So we'll see if that gets through and if that helps. Another one that was recently introduced, we're waiting for the number to be assigned. It's called Affordable Housing Resident Services Act. It requires HHS to award competitive grants to owners of federally assisted affordable housing for specified resident assistance activities. That includes gaining health care, enhancing economic self-sufficiency, assisting older adults and residents who have disabilities. So we know that that's important money that we need. We have to provide services with that housing. And we're standing by to see what kind of appropriations are going to come to something called PHUD, P-H-U-D. That's the House and Senate Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Bill. And so unfortunately, the majority has asked for a cut in some of those is some of that funding. But they're still hashing it out. So hopefully in the next month or two, I'll be able to give you some update on big chunks of money that are going to be appropriated for homelessness and housing from the federal government. And I think I might have mentioned to you HR 7862, Government Agencies Affordable Housing Conversion Act. This was introduced by soon-to-be Senator Schiff. It directs HUD to facilitate the conversion of buildings into affordable rental projects. And then there was also 7133 Safe Parking Act. This would authorize the use of emergency solution grants to provide safe parking facilities and sites. So they're all making their way through Congress. Fingers crossed, never easy to get a bill passed, but the effort is there. We keep trying. Your congressman has co-sponsored all of these bills. And thanks so much for allowing me to give an update.
Hey, thank you, Janet. And I know we also had put in some of our cities have put in some applications too for some appropriations. So you're to hear back on that. Do you know when the timeline is for that?
Is it with the current Congress sometime before the end of the year?
Okay.
That's all they tell us. That's all they tell us.
Okay, great. One of the things we wanted to uplift also is the Supreme Court decision. As many of you know, the county addressed this issue last week. They didn't want to see cities start, moving people off the streets just to move them to another city. They didn't want to use the sheriffs to do any enforcement of just for the fact that they're homeless. Obviously if they're doing something illegal, then they'll enforce something, but they didn't want to utilize the sheriff's resources for encampment resolution cleanups and things like that. And so one of the things I wanted to just uplift, and it got some press last week, is that we're actually in the works with our cities and our supervisors on a Good Neighbors Pledge. And I'm kind of it's kind of cool in the sense that we kind of thought of this like way before the Supreme Court ruling, and it's actually Keenan thought of this and then brought it up, and so we had some of our lawyers, including the city attorney of Redondo Beach, help draft this up. But the key line in here is to state that the court noted that these public camping regulations are not usually deployed as a frontline response to criminalized homelessness. Instead, they are used to provide city employees with the legal authority to address encampments that pose significant health and safety risks, and to encourage their inhabitants to accept other alternatives like shelter, drug treatment programs, and mental health facilities. In light of the ruling and the court's language, we commit to an approach that offers services and shelter as a cornerstone of our strategy. Recognizing the controversial history of sweeps, we pledge not to engage in practices that simply move individuals from one member city street to another, and understanding that such actions do not solve, but only relocate the issue. So this is a Good Neighbors Pledge. And one of the things also that we have here on the bottom is that we are encouraging our cities to provide training to relevant city personnel. Sometimes what can happen is that like a city might say they know like Redondo Beach has a pallet shelter, but they don't quite understand that the pallet shelter is, you can't just walk up to it and expect to get in, right? There's like a waiting list for it. And so because of that, they might say, oh, just send them to that Redondo Beach shelter, but not knowing the complexities of how that shelter works. And so things like that can happen. And so that's why we want to do this training to alleviate that. The pledge has where it's at right now is that one, it's got quite a bit of publicity. It was actually in the LAist, the LA Times. It was actually in Bloomberg too, as like a way for cities to come together. And I think the supervisors were really supportive of it, and they wanted to see cities in other jurisdictions also do a pledge. So that was kind of cool. What we're looking to do right now is have this pledge go through city councils to get our city councils to support. We, and it sounds like, we have the supervisor support. I think CD 15 is interested. And Redondo Beach just yesterday, city council approved the pledge. So they're the first city. And so we have some other city councils coming up, and hopefully we can get the pledge approved. And the idea is to do some cool signing ceremony. I think the spirit of it is that we're all in this together, and we want to have a collaborative and a regional response here in the South Bay. So I wanted to just uplift the pledge for everyone. Any questions on that? Okay. Let's see. At this point, does anyone have any updates or anything they want to share with the group? Grace?
Ronson?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was looking for my little hand. I couldn't see it on the on the bottom.
Okay.
I do see that Grace has her hand up as well, so I'm happy to go after Grace if you want to go first.
Oh, thank you, Marco. Hi, Marco. So I am here representing the South Bay Coalition and Homelessness, and I just wanted to remind folks, if you haven't received it, the next South Bay Coalition and Homelessness SPCH meeting, it will be on Tuesday, August 20th, and it's a listening session with the LA County Homeless Initiative Office. So I put the registration here. I'm going to attach the flyer if that's okay. But just to remind folks to please register so that you can provide input into LA County. I don't know, Marco, that's what you were going to update. But feel free to register, and we look forward to seeing many of you there.
Awesome. Thanks, Grace. Yes, I was going to partly talk about that, so appreciate you highlighting that. But just to highlight it as well, I guess, but really important, you all attend. Just to clarify too, I believe Grace mentioned she was going to drop the flyer in the chat. But there is different sessions. There's one for cities and COG, or there's one for cities, one for COGs, one for service providers, and then for different partners. So as you all are RSVPing, just be on the lookout for those specifically. And I think the last thing I wanted to highlight was just with the COG. Ronson, thank you again for submitting the signed contract for the local solution funds. We had a meeting yesterday with our contracts team and expect that to be routed for CEO signature pretty soon.
Great. Thanks, Marco. And thanks for reminding me, you and Grace, about the listening sessions. So yes, that's very important, and slipped my mind to mention it. So I'm really glad you guys are here to do so. Thank you for that. Yeah, and anyone else? Just a couple quick updates. We're also very heavily involved in some countywide executive level groups. So one is La Casa, which is the LA County, but they're the affordable housing provider for LA County. It's the Affordable Housing Trust Fund for LA County, and we're staffing that on behalf of Councilmember John Marish of Beverly Hills, who's our Southwest sector representative. And right now, the CASA is very dependent on whether Measure A passes. We're currently looking for funding to kind of keep it afloat until then. Right now, the committee's focused on hiring an interim CEO of La Casa, which would be a new county agency for affordable housing development, and so we'll probably have a more robust update on that, as well as the executive committee for regional homelessness alignment that Councilmember Paige Collar-Jervik is representing us on in the next task force meeting. Paul?
Sorry, Bronson. Thank you. Sorry. Just maybe more attention on Senate Bill 43. The governor expressed in a letter to the Board of Supervisors disappointment is not being implemented sooner. They're responding with a plan within 4 months about the whole executive order. So just raising the issue that in LA County, they were deferring the implementation of Senate Bill 43 on gravely disabled implementation until a year or so. they're sort of being asked to move that up. And as part of this whole issue of dealing with the homelessness encampment with that. So just something to raise, that may be an upcoming issue sooner with the Board of Supervisors.
Thanks for that update, Paul. Yeah, as I understand it, I think the issue was capacity, right? Like, there's not enough conservators, things of that nature, and that was something the county was going to work out. Do you know if they were able to push up that timeline or increase capacity to accommodate increased numbers of conservatorship?
Well, yeah, that's the problem. The county is saying they're trying to get enough resources and staffing to get squared away, just that there's getting concerned about that. So that's why they're asking for a report from all the departments within 4 months to how to respond to the executive order.
Great. Zolma?
Thank you, Ronson. I just wanted to quickly share that the city of Torrance will be hiring a third outreach worker. We're in the process of interviewing, so maybe at the next homeless task force meeting, that person will join this meeting to be introduced to everybody. That's it.
Oh, that's awesome. Good to hear. Okay, any other updates? Great. If not, then we'll adjourn a few minutes early. Well, thanks everyone for coming to our August meeting. Our next meeting will be in October, right before the elections. And so that'll be a great time to talk about Measure A and the executive committees. Well, thanks everyone for joining us, and see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Wisconsin.
Dave.